Good morning everyone. Here I am Deepak Vashist with the final review of the chapter Inverse Trigonometric Functions. Students, I have explained you most of the things which I can cover in this chapter. Now let me review with the basic formulas that you have to remember in this chapter. Here you have a table of all inverse trigonometric functions with their domain and range. This range is the principal branch range. Sine inverse has the domain -1 to 1 and its range is -π/2 to π/2. Cos inverse, it has the domain -1 to 1 and its principal branch range is 0 to π. Tan inverse has the domain R and its range is -π/2 to π/2. Cosec inverse has the domain R -1 to 1 and its range is -π/2 to π/2 excluding 0. Similarly, sec inverse, it has the range 0 to π excluding π/2. And cot inverse, it has the domain R and its range is 0 to π. As I have told you that we have two categories. One is -π/2 to π/2 and the other one is 0 to π. So your sine inverse, cosec inverse and tan inverse, they belongs to the category -π/2 to π/2, and your cos inverse, sec inverse and cot inverse belongs to the category of 0 to π. This first box that you are looking at in the properties of inverse trigonometric functions. Here we have sine inverse 1 by x, it is equals to cosec inverse x. Now these are some properties which we have already discussed. The question on the which will come on the basis of this particular box, they are somewhat related, like they'll ask you cosec inverse square root of 2. So cosec inverse root 2 means you can write it as sine inverse 1 by root 2, and sine inverse 1 by root 2 is your π/4. So this is how we can use these properties. Second, as I told you that we have two different categories. One is the inverse trigonometric functions which belongs to the range -π/2 to π/2, and the other one is the inverse trigonometric functions which belongs to the category of 0 to π. So if we have sine inverse minus x, it will come out to be minus sine inverse x. If we have tan inverse of minus x, we will have minus tan inverse x. If we have cosec inverse of minus x, we will have minus cosec inverse x. Now for the category 0 to π, if we have negative inside the inverse trigonometric function, this will come out to be π minus cos inverse x. In the same way, if you have sec inverse minus x, it will be π minus sec inverse x, and cot inverse minus x will lead you to π minus cot inverse x. Now these are the three very important results. Sine inverse x plus cos inverse x is equals to π/2. Tan inverse x plus cot inverse x is equals to π/2. Cosec inverse x plus sec inverse x is equals to π/2. Now these 5 results, out of which first and second are very important, and we have a number of questions on the basis of these two identities in our NCERT book. Now before starting the explaining you the first identity, let me remind you that we have a condition over here that x into y, it should be less than 1. This I had told you while explaining this identity in the previous lecture also, that we can use it only when we have x into y less than 1. If my value of x and y, if the product of x and y is less than 1, only in that condition I can use this identity, otherwise I cannot use it. Now the identity is tan inverse x plus tan inverse y, it is equals to tan inverse x plus y upon 1 minus xy. In the same way, we have the second identity, tan inverse x minus tan inverse y, it is equals to tan inverse x minus y upon 1 plus xy. Here the condition is xy should be greater than minus 1. After this we have 2 tan inverse x is equals to sine inverse 2x upon 1 plus x square. 2 tan inverse x is equals to cos inverse 1 minus x square upon 1 plus x square. 2 tan inverse x is equals to tan inverse 2x upon 1 minus x square. Now you might be having one confusion that which identity I have to use out of these three identities, which identity I have to use at a particular time, or means how would I know I have to use which identity. So for these three you have to keep in mind that if you want to convert this 2 tan inverse x in sine inverse, cos inverse or tan inverse, that depends on the need of the question. So as per the need of the question, you will be using these three identities. So that's all for today. This is the final version that I have given you for this inverse trigonometric functions. Hope you have completed this chapter, and whatever doubts you have, you can just mail me or you can send me on WhatsApp. Thank you. All the best.